Testing 1, 2.
Morning, Thoxy. We need 2 minutes just to sort out some sound. I'm going to be with you in 2 minutes. Morning, everyone. Morning, morning. Work sharing Monday. It should be next week, but I believe there's something special planned for next week, so we're gonna kick away with some inspiration today. So just a bit of a sequence of events. Going to go yellow pod, red pod, orange, green, blue. We'll try and do a color combination. So first up is yellow pod, and I believe the writing and research team are sharing with yellow pod. So we're going to hand over to yellow pod. Claire doesn't like to be put under pressure first thing in the morning.
Or ever. Okay, where's Talia? This was an easy one, jokes. So this was for FAO on cold chains. The clients were FAO, the Ozone Secretariat, the government of Italy. Their brief was they would like an animation summarizing the key points of the cold chain report, 122 pages. Must include What is a cold chain? How do cold chains form part of our everyday lives? What are the benefits of cold chains, including reducing food loss, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving farmers' income, plus also the Montreal Protocol, which helps save the ozone layer, the subsequent Kigali Agreement, and the Rome Declaration. How cold chains connect with the Sustainable Development Agenda, and how FAO and UNEP can help countries develop effective cold chains in the future in 3 minutes for a broad audience. It must be fun, snappy, and interesting to watch. There were 15 drafts. It was a record. We nearly had it done in 5, but then the core client team sent to the people above them, who sent it to the people above them, and everyone had their say. And so, yeah, 15 drafts later. Thank you, Talia, for your patience with the client. It was amazing. Just like, dear sir, thank you so much. Or, yeah, wow, thank you for your feedback. We'll pass it on to the next bunch. But it was eventually signed off, and then everyone was happy with the script, and then it went to the animation team. And thanks to Elise as well. I don't know if she's online, but she did a heck of a lot of research into cold chains and the things that they should look like and what it all involves. So Ash is here, and he's going to go on to the next bit.
Hello. Yeah, so as Claire said, it was quite a task to kind of encapsulate and mold everything into 3 minutes. Again, I think the testimony to good research as well as great content and things like that, because through their 15 drafts, I think we managed to get the animation / storyboard done in, I want to say it was 3 drafts, but I want to say it was probably about 1 to 2, because I think the 3rd draft was just like logo changes. So it was really, really a great job from their side. I kind of just picked up a fantastic piece of work, and then I kind of, with all the imagery and stuff that they had provided, I just took it the next step further and kind of made it look fun and exciting to watch. Yeah, so very simple, but I just want to say thanks for that, because it's a lot easier to make changes in script phase rather than make changes in animation or storyboarding. So like it could have gone a lot worse, and I had fun in this project, but I don't know about everyone else. But yeah, you can play the video.
Every year, we produce more than enough food to feed everyone on the planet. So why are millions of people still going to bed hungry, and millions of small-scale farmers still living in poverty? While the reasons are complex, one of the many critical issues to be addressed is food loss and waste. Around 14% of food is lost before it reaches consumers, while 17% is wasted at consumer level every year. This also means less income for farmers and fewer opportunities to improve livelihoods. Where is it all going wrong? One reason is the lack of effective cold chains, which in simple terms means keeping food fresh from farm to fork. Perishable foods must be kept in a cool, temperature-controlled environment throughout the journey from production, aggregation and storage, processing, marketing and distribution, all the way to our plates. This temperature-controlled supply chain of food is called the food cold chain. But cooling technologies can consume a lot of electricity, still largely generated from fossil fuels. Some continue to use ozone-depleting substances, ODSs, or hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, which are powerful greenhouse gases. Today, cold chains contribute towards around 4% of global GHG emissions, which impact climate change and food production. Lack of access to food cold chains impacts food security, livelihoods, and limits access to markets. Without sustainable cooling solutions, our health, food, and livelihoods are at risk. So what's being done to improve the food cold chain? In 1987, nations came together to sign the Montreal Protocol to help save the ozone layer, This involved phasing out ODSs in various sectors, including cooling technologies. Under its Kigali Amendment, nations committed to phasing down HFCs while also addressing energy efficiency issues. And in 2019, the Rome Declaration called on governments, organizations, and private initiatives to collaborate on building sustainable food cold chain solutions. FAO and UNEP believe this can be achieved by improving access to energy for cooling along the food value chain, developing and gathering data, improving technical capacity, updating policies, implementing efficiency improvements, and financing new business models for upscaling. Sustainable food cold chains will help us work towards the SDGs by creating a healthier planet, supporting farmers and fishers' livelihoods, and ensuring more nutritious food reaches everyone's plates.
Okay, so I've got another project that the Yellow Pod worked on. There's a company called 54. This job came through, let me stand on this side so it's less feedback or in the mic, or at least sounds better for me. So Andrew approached the Yellow Pod and said he had this this potential job that we could work on. I'm just going to share my screen now while I'm doing this. And Andrew had a connection with Neil Hart, who's running this foundation or this initiative called 54. Showing it? No. Still not. It's great when it wants to update. Yeah. Sorry. Neil Hart used to be a part of, or used to run Boomtown, and he approached Neil approached Andrew, sorry. And basically 54 is a non-profit organization that works with a lot of NGOs and ministries, and I think it's up to about 500 NGOs, and they found that a lot of these NGOs were struggling to run their business as well. So this is basically like a learning portal that they're set up with biblical principles, and it's a free platform that all these NGOs can sign up to and go through all this training. So there's a large amount of training that'll be on this portal, somewhere in the region of about 500 videos. So we were tasked with, yes. Oh, okay. I finally got it sharing, but that's cool. Okay. So the logo was already designed by an ad agency, and they had done a basic logo animation, but they wanted us to see what we could do. So I'm going to go through we presented a couple of concepts first, just because the logo animation itself is like 3 or 4 seconds, and then there's an outro as well. So the first option we did was all these colorful balls. All the colors are related in their brand manual, and it's a sense of these balls all coming together and forming the logo, and it's a sense of all these NGOs coming to this central place to learn, and then once they've sort of learned, then there's this sort of explosion and it transitions into the footage. So in the initial phase. They were big on what transition are we going to use. So this was concept 1. Concept 2, if you go to the next one. So concept 2, we was this idea of like a seed dropping, and as it hit this line, it was sort of like a wave or ripple effect, which created this what looked like a Bible being opened from the from like a flat view, and then out of the middle of that, the logo starts to reveal itself, but it's almost like a rising sun, and by revealing itself like this, you see the cross element within the logo. And they really liked this, but they felt it wasn't quite in line with 54, but they wanted us to keep this for potentially another job, that because they're part of a much bigger organization that has a lot of other companies within them. And then concept 3. So concept 3 was this idea of descending and ascending. So a lot of the concepts in the teaching materials, they speak about Jesus's principles of leading, and so this is a quite an abstract. Instead of visually showing something, it's more in the movement that we're speaking about Jesus descending to earth and then ascending at the end with these lines. So they really like this this option, and I'll just run through the other options. So option 4 was, it's again this thing, the concept around things, everyone that's coming to this portal to learn. So we fragmented the logo and started with the pieces all over the place, and then coming together, and then expanding, going back out. Cool. And then when we were in the meeting with them, they had one other idea that they wanted me to show, based on a comment I made about water. And then so then they asked to see this concept of a water drop falling, and then the ripples going out, and then the logo sort of coming out of the ripples, and then again like an almost dissipating and transition into the footage. So I guess I can play the one of the first clips. So I got to work on the sound with Rob. It's always nice. In the draft phase of the animation, I tried a little stab at the sound design, and realized how bad it was when I handed it over to Rob. But it just no. From my opinion, once I heard yours, I was like, wow, that's a massive jump in quality, and like mine is terrible. So I'm not going to play mine. I'm just going to play Rob's. So we sent 2 sound options. If you want to play through those. You sure? Okay. So then we'd sent a few drafts through like that, and we're still sort of in the final phases trying to like find that last little bit of they want changed, because they are going to put this at the beginning and end of like 500 videos. They're like, we're nearly there. We just need a little bit. So we're still going to do a little bit of work to the sound. I think you can probably play that last one, and then the video clip is like a minute long. So we're just jumping ahead so that you don't have to sit through all of the video footage.
Price and a whole lot of other really, really big companies, and what they do is 50% of all the proceeds they make, they actually distribute back into non-profit organizations. Really interesting business model. And this portal that Scott's speaking about is a platform where all the NGOs that they work with can actually go and upskill themselves so they can manage and run their NGOs effectively. So it's quite an interesting initiative. Okay, next up, Red Pod. Not Talia with the red hair.
Sure, if anything, the Red Pod have no hair. Morning, guys. I'm going to just quickly introduce the project. Kim, who is online, will be sharing the actual visuals and taking you through the project creative. So this project is the World Hearing Day, which is on the 3rd of March every year. This year we got to roll out the creative and a few assets related to it. We actually began this towards the end of last year, connecting with the team at WHO, and it was quite a large project with that team, besides just the World Hearing Day assets, which included some rollout of collateral. It also included a training manual, which is something that they have had for quite some time, several years. And they needed to update it. It was something that they use to inform healthcare workers across the globe in various countries as to how to assess and also just refer when necessary people who come to clinics and various healthcare centers for hearing-related problems and ear-related problems. And yeah, it's basically a guide as to what to assist them in terms of what they need to look out for and how they need to resolve it and pass on the best possible care. That manual was quite a lot of work. It was, I think, 150 pages, I think. They were very hesitant to almost let go of their current one because it had worked so well in the past. So for us, it was quite a challenge to meet and exceed that expectation because they were replacing something that was working so well that they wanted to make sure that it achieved the same results going forward. And this is something that's going to last for several years. I think they've had their current one for almost 10 years. But so, yeah, that was quite a challenge bolted onto the World Hearing Day assets themselves, which are obviously for the particular day. But the training manual we've added into the mix as well because Kim did an exceptionally good job in terms of pulling together some fairly hair-raising images of pinna and cochlea and whatever else happens in here, and also doing some illustration work and design work. So it was quite a multifaceted project. So I'm going to hand over to Kim. Kim, are you there?
I'm
Yes,
here.
she is. We also kindly got back some World Hearing Day T-shirts, which Kim is wearing. I forgot to wear mine, sorry, Kim. Which Andrew brought back from the team on his return from overseas. The team kindly shared some T-shirts of the World Hearing Day with us, which we designed and Kim designed. So yeah, there it is in all its physical glory. Over to you, Kim.
Morning. I'm going to give the game away here. I'm a bit technologically illiterate, so but I have practiced this, so just bear with me. I'm going to share screen. Oh, it worked. Fantastic. Can you guys see? All right. Okay. Let me just try and get it into. Yeah, so as Steve says, these were some of the assets that we created. When it goes on to the next slide. Some social media posts and containing the do's and the don'ts of healthy or practicing healthy ear care. So yeah, I won't explain that in too much detail. It's pretty obvious. Oh, sorry, guys. Quite laggy. Okay. Oh, and a poster, and this got rolled out into a bunch of different language options as well. And it got quite interesting with translations, like as always, especially Arabic, just flipping things around. Also interesting to see how stuff worked. And then here's some more like sort of a social media, like a carousel. And again, just elaborating on those posts. And we presented a couple different options, and then they came back with feedback and asked us to try and just make it a bit more engaging. Push the box, but don't go too wild. So this was the solve for it. And then these were some of the collateral items rolled out in French. Oui, oui. Yeah, so T-shirt, notepad, mouse pads, and a tote bag. And yeah, well, guys, I was going to say Dr. Ted's full name, but I think I'm going to butcher it. So I'm going to play it safe and just say he got a shirt from us, or like one of our shirts that we designed. And yeah, that's the gang wearing them. And then this is the training manual that Steve was talking about. This was a pretty cool challenge, like in terms of design, because because of the volume of content, and it gets applied to you in a Word document. So it was quite cool having to set a Word document up, and we didn't have to set it up, but just to filter through it and then get it ready to bring into InDesign. And then if you've set up all your foundations right in InDesign, it's just it flows quite quickly, or relatively speaking. And then yeah, also just kudos to Steve and Izza for just navigating tricky client feedback like pros. They were so smooth. It was really impressive to just witness that. Yeah, and then a poster, again, like a checklist sort of thing. But yeah, that's it. And kudos to Lo as well for his speedy work on an annexure.
On. Yeah, thanks, Kim. Yeah, really cool project, and this is off the back of we actually did a project for Shelley and the team from WHO last year, and it's great to see this lifetime sort of relationship component building. So this is the second time we're working with them. Really cool project. But those World Hearing training manuals, those will go all over the world to assist people with training people in the field. Quite interesting to see that part of the design process was we had to make sure that there was compliancy for people with sight issues, etc. as well. So certain regulatory compliancy that we had to approach with with a document of that size. It becomes a little bit tricky. We all get stuck into aesthetics of design, but when you've got to try and take aesthetics of design and apply a filter for sight impaired people as well, it becomes a lot more difficult, but interesting project. Cool. I'm going to hand over to Orange Pod.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try to keep this short and simple because this actually isn't an Orange Pod project, but Red Pod is busy developing a concept or a campaign for World No Tobacco Day. I think we've had this for maybe 3-4 years in a row now, and every year it changes a little bit, and this year the golden thread or the sort of, tagline for the year is grow food, not tobacco. So in a lot of countries, people are growing tobacco because they think that this is what they need to do to keep their families going. But in those countries, people are suffering from malnutrition and they're getting sick because they're growing tobacco. So we thought it would be cool as part of the campaign to explore making a stop motion where as someone's preparing a meal, the food turns into tobacco products. I'm sure you'll hear more about the actual campaign somewhere further down the line, but this was just a proof of concept to sort of sell the client on the idea. So you guys can see what we did.
Produce. Yeah, so well done. Really, really cool one. Cool. Hand over to Green.
Yeah, well done, Angel. That was brilliant. It was a very quick turnaround, and she did everything, apart from the sound design, which Rob did. So well done. Really, really cool. The best work Rooftops produced ever for WHO. So well done. Cool. So the project we're going to chat about, if you guys are familiar with the name Priyanka, she was one of our very early clients for UNICEF New York. She worked at UNICEF in the comms team, and we've done many, many projects for her over the years, and she's now moved over to UNFPA. And we got a call or an email or something, I think it was an email from her, right after the devastating earthquakes that hit Syria and Turkey. And basically, UNFPA go in and they help particularly moms and girls in these devastating situations where like houses have crumbled, what they had set up in terms of shelters and hospitals had been smashed and everything. So they go in and they provide dignity kits and help to women and children in those situations. And there are a lot of pregnant moms, you can imagine. And these earthquakes hit and like destroyed so much of their lives, and so UNFPA needed to respond quickly. So they had video teams that they had on the ground, and they interviewed their own people, and they interviewed people who were affected by the earthquakes, and they asked us if we could please help and put videos together for them, basically to raise support and to raise funding so that they could go in and help these people. So the actual videos we produced aren't the highest concept, and they're not these amazing visual experiences, but they are very, very, very impactful in terms of their what they do and how they're going to actually save so many lives and help UNFPA gain support both from the public and from governments to get funding to go in and actually save lives. So I'm going to hand over to Laura. She's going to explain what she did because she did most of the work. So over to Laura.
Hello everyone. So as Nick explained, we got these videos and we had such a short turnaround for them. We still have. So there was like two phases, the Turkish phase and the Syrian phase. And basically for us, we focused on getting them out so that they could get onto social media. There was such a rush. It was like drop everything and do these videos. That was how it worked. So Tani, Dylan and Rob, thanks for your work on this as well. That was super helpful. And then I got to take those further and get them into final drafts. So the first video that we're going to show you is one of the later ones that we did where we'd had like this vox pop piece, just a woman speaking in front of a tent and we didn't have a name and it just couldn't stand alone. And then we finally started getting more footage. Like we would just randomly check the folder, or I would, and I'd see there was more video footage and we didn't know about it. So it was always like checking like what's up there. I still am checking daily, like did they put something else up? And then we put these two stories with this. So there's an official, like a municipal official and a UNFPA worker or field official basically that speak about the situation and how they addressed it in the different areas in Turkey that they worked in and that were affected by the earthquake. So it's a really cool story, but we had to use the UNFPA brand kit and it is not entirely very engaging. And so, yeah, we didn't have a lot to work with. It was filmed on phones. Sound wasn't great. We actually used Adobe Podcast Enhance to improve the sound. Robbie and Rob are like, Laura. But it helped. It really did because the turnaround was so fast. So, yeah, we just had to roll with the punches with this one. And I feel like these videos was honestly some of the videos that I've enjoyed working on the most because they were so real and raw. And it really felt like we were contributing to what's been going on. And like the situation there is far from over, but we got to help a bit. So here's the first one.
The situation in the north of Syria is very bad. But now the earthquake took place and increased our suffering so much. We have a large number of newborn of preterm delivery. As example, all the incubator is occupied and there is 6 newborn with preterm and don't have any incubator. We do so much to turn this baby to another hospital to take place their service. We succeed in refer 6 baby, but there is 1 baby now. Since yesterday, we don't have any incubator for this newborn which need our help. Many cases of newborn baby need to travel to Turkey because there is no adequate service here. I want all people in all of the world to help Syrian people.
And as I'm going through the footage, I feel like, yo, guys, Syria, that's hectic. The B-roll that we got there is from the northwestern part of Syria, which is held by rebels. It's a very complex thing, but I only learned recently, like as we were doing this, about how hectic the situation is. And despite the war and these streets being bombed out, and now this earthquake, the footage of the Syrian people that I saw, they're smiling. They are like actually like looking at the camera with like a light in their eyes. And I was like, how are they so resilient? And it was really cool to be able to work with that on this. Although like the story about like the premature babies being born, so like there's been an increase because of the earthquakes and the stress that moms went through, and yet there's this resilience. So it's been really impactful. It's been like really tough, but yeah, that's the Syrian one, and then this is the Turkish one, and that's it from me. Thanks.
Biz de depremi yaşadık ama gerçekten hani bizden daha kötü durumda olan insanlar var. O yüzden hani onlara destek olmak için çok hızlı sahaya çıktık. Direkt harekete geçmeye başladık. Koordinasyon grupları kuruldu. Merkezlerimizin hemen iyilik durumlarını değerlendirdik. Uygun olan merkezler hemen hizmete geçti.
Öncelikle acil müdahaleler içerisinde bulunduk. Hem barınma hem temel ihtiyaçlarını gidermek, ardından da işte bu yönüyle psikolojik olarak onları da işte rehabilite etme adına neler yapabiliriz düşüncesindeyiz.
Vallahi neler yaşadık abla. Bu depremin yüzünden çocuklarımız evimiz hepsi kalmış geldik buraya. Bez aldık, biberon verdi, her şey verdiler.
Herhangi bir ihtiyacı sahada talep geldiği an işbirliği içerisinde bu temel ihtiyaçlarını veya herhangi bir ihtiyaçlarını gidermek için hemen atağa geçiyoruz.
Bu süreçte hep birlikte iyileşeceğimizi düşünüyoruz. Hep birlikte biz onlara destek oluyoruz. Destek olmaya da devam edeceğiz.
Every time we're putting out social media comments, there's a lot of pushback from Syrian people just asking what's actually being done in Syria as well. So it's quite an interesting political viewpoint on things. Okay, last but certainly not least, Blue Pod.
Okay.
Carl just sold Zizi down the river, yeah?
Cool. So about a month ago, Carl and I got to do a project with Climate Investment Fund in the Maldives. I'm going to pull my phone out because I wrote some notes. I'm going to make sure I get it right. But basically, we're in the Maldives to document their efforts in renewable energy, and they have a huge solar, what do you call it? I don't know, building system going on there. And before this intervention started, the Maldives was heavily reliant on diesel, imported diesel, because being a small island developing state, they don't really have many resources to to run the country essentially. So it was really inspiring to see such a small place take interventions using stuff around them. So desalination plants, and one of the major headlining projects they have was a big floating solar panel. So if you go to got a bunch of pictures there. When we got there, it hadn't been built yet, but we got to see other interventions that they had. So that's a bit of behind the scenes of me showing some, I think it's a smoothie bar, just getting some B-roll, city B-roll of her. Sorry, these aren't in order, so I'll just, that was an interview with the Minister of Finance of the Maldives, and just to hear about the support that Climate Investment Fund and the World Bank are putting into the Maldives to assist them in becoming a pioneer, I think, really in renewable energy interventions and stuff, which is really great. Go to the next one. That is me, or Carl was just behind, but we're getting onto a ferry to go onto a neighboring island called Vilimale, and over there they had it's just a beautiful, quiet place, especially from the hustle and bustle of Male City. So, which is interesting to see was the Maldives isn't all a tourist, getaways. There are some parts of it that are a little bit more grounded and developing and really city vibes kind of thing. So it was nice to just take a break from that and go to a smaller place. And over there they had big desalination plants, and that whole island, actually, there are no petrol vehicles allowed. Everything has to be electric, which is very cool to see. You can go to the next one. Yeah, so that's one of the electric buses they use in an island that we're on. And yeah, that itself was also charged by solar panels as well. So it's fully green, which is inspiring. Go to next. So this was the Steel Co plant in Male City, the capital. That's just an example of some of the solar panels they have on buildings. So they really try to make use of like all roof real estate, really, to like cover them with solar panels. Yeah, it's really cool. Go next. That's another example. Sick. It's one of the Steel Co employees. Just behind the scenes photo of an interview with Funaka. I believe that's the state energy provider of the Maldives. It's kind of like the ESCOM. That was one of the, I don't want to get his title wrong, but one of the high rolling guys. Go next. Okay, so this was it is a site where they're building, oh man, I think it's like, how many kilometers would you say? 5 Ks of like, it's quite long, next to the airport, but a bunch of solar panels that will be used to add power into the grid, which is really cool. But the project's still in its infancy, so they organized some guys to just like mock up building some solar panels for us, which is great. But it's so funny because this thing could only be like disconnected once, and then the guy pulled it out and we're like filming him put it in. I don't think we're all ready, and then he put it in. I was like, oh man, like, can you take it out again so we can do it? So we had to like fake it. Filmmaking. Next. Okay, that's another example. That one was legit. Cool, and that's just at the top part of them just putting some solar panels on, which is very cool. Next. That's some of the World Bank and Climate Investment Fund team. So the guy with the Pharrell hat is Scott from the Climate Investment Fund. And the guy in the white shirt is Demetrius. He's like the general director of the World Bank. He's got a pretty, general director. Really cool guy. Go next. Another behind the scenes shot of I think she was the Deputy Minister of Finance. You can go to the next one. And then this was in a new section of Male City, which has a whole bunch of housing developments, and they have a 5 megawatt solar project there where all these new social housing flats were like built with, like state-of-the-art solar technology that again gets fed back into the grid. So really cool to see. Beautiful area. Next. I think we have some aerial shots. That's a kid and his dad or granddad, I think. Next. Cute. That is the General Director of the World Bank in some bodies. It's casually walking. And there's another spot for an interview that we did. So this was in Adu, right? So this is in Adu City, is the southernmost atoll in the Maldives. And we had to take like an hour and a half flight from the mainland of Maldives and fly there in one of those like propeller planes. And you'll see Kyle and I got certificates for crossing the equator. And because many of the people who fly in those, I guess, are like European tourists who don't ever come to the Southern Hemisphere, it was like a huge thing for them. So we got like personal printed stuff, which is cool. Go to the next one. It's just a screenshot of one of the women that we interviewed. She's a solar engineer. And she is, I don't know if I got her name. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but she was incredible. She's like super passionate about it, and it was great to see, group of people that are like really desperate to change, but in like a good way. They're really passionate about the topic and are doing anything in their power to, provide the Maldivian people with like cheap renewable energy and reduce their carbon footprint. I think it's a it's a good example for, I think, the more Western and developed countries to take, that it is possible if enough people actually like care about it enough, which is cool. Next, another screenshot of one of the women we interviewed. Next. So that's the example of the solar panels at the housing development, and it's like crazy, like they're just expanding and expanding. Yeah, it was cool. Next. Again, I can go next. Sorry. So this is where the big, I think it's 20 megawatts floating solar system area that's going to be built. They said it's about 20 to 25 football fields in size. It's like huge. So it's going to be stretching all the way there. And yeah, very impressive. Next. Oh, I think it's got to do with the amount of space they have. Yeah, the amount of space they have. So there's a lot of, they do a lot of reclaiming land, so they have to like expand, kind of like what Dubai does with their fake islands, to make space. And I think it's just a smart way of using what's around them, which I think was really cool to see. Next. Boat. So this is Male City, the capital. It's not what most people would expect the Maldives to look like, actually, but it was nice to see this part. I think it's important to see both sides of it. The end of the bridge. Oh, that bridge is called the Friendship China Friendship Bridge. It was donated by China, and it connects, like, so that other island just pretty much has the airport on it, and it connects to the main part of the city. The China Friendship Bridge, yeah. Next. You can go next, Foxy. And just keep cycling through these. Sorry, I don't know how many I put. Oh, this is a clip of when we had a bit of downtime. We got to go snorkeling. So this is Kyle on GoPro looking at it. No. Yeah. That was cool. It was my first snorkeling experience, so I was told that it doesn't get any better than that. And it's a bit of a problem that was my first experience, because my expectations are up here. But as somebody who's not really a fan of open water, seeing all the fish and chojos and stuff was interesting. Cool. And then I have a gift from our fixer/client from the Maldivian government, and this is called a doni, and it is a traditional Maldivian boat that was used by the Sri Lankan settlers and fishermen that settled in the Maldives. So he said, please give this to Rooftop. So it just needs a little bit of TLC. I think it broke in transit. It just needs a sail. But you can see there's some water over there. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's it.
Sorry, I promised Z that I wouldn't make him be the only person to speak. I thought just one other thing worth adding is just super interesting. That's the what is his role again? General director, just rocking board shorts. That guy was way too comfortable in the water. He was Greek, and like I've snorkeled a couple of times. Like I know what I'm doing, and but we get in the water and this guy just dives and disappears into the darkness. He was really comfortable under the water. But what I was just going to add is that like the Maldives is just super interesting. I mean, is that what that screenshot is there, Z? Like. That's where it is over there. It's super small. It's made up of 1,002 or 1,300 islands, of which I think there's only 300 that are really inhabited. But which is interesting is that they have there's no island that shares resources with another one. Every island has its own electricity production, its own water cleaning, and its own sewage. And it was just so, I don't know, for me being there and seeing that like for 5,000 people, they can clean water, they can arrange electricity, and they can make sewage happen. Where it's like, why can't we achieve this? Like when we told them the struggles that South Africa has, they were just like, what is your excuse? Like you have all the land for solar panels, you have all of the resources that you need. Well, it was just crazy. I mean, like they just like they kept laughing and they were like, "Why are they still in power?" I mean, when I explained what load shedding was, they were like, "If our electricity turned off for 2 hours in one day, they would kick the government out." It was like that's how long they would last. Like you would have 2 hours, and then that's it. Like the government would be gone. So that was really interesting. Let's do it. Just the other interesting factor was that, as Zizi said, everything is like the only thing that country has is coconuts, sand, and tuna. Like those are their only resources. Z didn't talk about the fact that we had tuna for like every meal, like tuna for breakfast. Like if you go to a menu, like beef would be the most expensive, then chicken, and then like half price would just be tuna. You know, like if you had a tuna salad. So we ate a lot of tuna. But also just the fact that the Maldives, I think they said their highest point above sea level is 2 meters. Like there's no mountains, there's no anything of that sort. But that's just the whole fact of like they will be the first country gone with climate change. Like they have no resilience towards that. And so that is where they've taken such a bold stance. And they're saying like we will set the example of what is achievable. And the one like resounding point they kept making was like, look how the world suddenly targeted its efforts at COVID, and within a couple months, like had seen a solution to like that issue. It's like climate change is just as much of a threat, maybe slower moving, but it's like there is actually no excuses. And you watch how the entire country is flipping into this transition to be less dependent on diesel and more dependent on solar energy. And just seeing them do it is just incredible. Like they're putting solar panels out in the middle of the freaking ocean because they're like, this is the only way we're going to be sustainable. So I think there's a lot to draw from the inspiration that they're setting. And yeah, it's just a really incredible journey to be on. I mean, not only to go to the Maldives was amazing, but to see their bullish nature towards solar and towards sustainable energy production and how achievable it is was just really encouraging. Thanks.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah, what cool projects. Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing. I just want to mention there were a couple of other things happening last week, and I know that you guys would have seen a little bit of a buzz in the office last week. Tom and James and the crew were shooting a really cool video for World Health Organization. Yeah, so I'm so keen for that to be finished so Tom and the guys can share it. I think it should be done quite soon. Huh? Yeah, so maybe in the next sharing session we'll share that. Maybe, yeah, really cool one. Believe there were some behind the scenes prima donnas and sets as well, so no one from Rooftop, don't worry. Yeah, and then some really cool social media content rolling out as well for World Health Organization for their 75th. We've just finished a toolkit that's going to be rolled out across the World Health Organization and its partner networks for the rest of the year. So quite nice to be able to develop a set of content that's going to be used for a full year, which has also been quite interesting. And then as Angel mentioned, World No Tobacco Day 2023, we're in the thick of that at the moment as well. And for the first time, AI has had a really dominant place to play in that. In fact, Nick and the team, really diligently went and shot a nice model in studio with a plate of food and stuff. Client came back and they said they preferred the AI image. So we've reverted back, and the key image for World No Tobacco Day 2023 is actually going to be AI generated, which is amazing. Yeah, it's a cyborg. Yeah. Julian had to stitch a head onto the top of a face and a few other things. So it's a bit of a Frankenstein model, but yeah, really cool. But amazing. AI's definitely got a place to play, and I know Rion's doing a bit of a charge for people to join the AI group. Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to do that. It's going to have a big role to play in how we approach business moving forward. So, yeah. But thanks everyone. Thanks for sharing. Let's have a good week. Thank you.